you, the listeners, or past players of mine that hate me, and I totally understand why you hate me, you can go ahead and comment and throw in a question of why I did this to you and how I ruined you or anything like that. I'm okay with dealing with that because I think that'll not only help me, it'll help other coaches understand that they need to look in the mirror and understand that there's a better way of doing it. So anyways, so let's talk about your first 2 years. Marin, we'll start with you. How was the first 2 years for you? And I get you guys have thick skin, but you can even kind of just describe what was your experience in the first 2 years at Millennium under my leadership or lack thereof.
Well, I would say I was super excited to be playing varsity as a freshman and a sophomore. I just consider myself really lucky to be there. But like as a coaching standpoint, I think that it was definitely different from our last 2 years. Karis and I can both attest to that. I think that all 4 years we had a really talented group of players, which is why even though you were kind of reinventing yourself as a coach every year, we were still able to pull through and adapt to your coaching style and still be really successful. But in terms of you as a coach, I feel like it was definitely more, you were way more involved and always on the field. And I feel like the energy was a lot different than it was the last 2 years for us. And I don't think it was necessarily negative, but it was just very different. It was a completely different coaching style.
Yeah, I think one point you brought up was the involvement, and I was very involved, and you guys had to adapt to me versus the coach adapting to you and trying to create a team, and that's a big struggle. If you have to spend part of your learning development trying to learn how this team functions, how to compete and win, however you want to compete and win, you have to deal with the coach as well. And I think that's what coaches don't understand is the coaches get in the way and the players have to learn how to deal with you as they try to learn to deal with a game, and that's a big problem. And I think that hurts your development or hurts the ability for you guys to get better. Karis, what are your thoughts on your first 2 years with me versus the last 2 years?
I enjoyed all my years, but the first two were definitely a lot different. I think in terms of you as a coach, I think the girls would say like you're kind of more intimidating in a sense because I'm trying to think how to explain it. Just because you like were more involved and
you were loud.
You were loud, like very expressive, and we would hear from you like on the field if we did something wrong, or instead of just kind of hearing from you in a more relational way. And I think because of that, I think we were a little more scared to experiment and kind of do our own thing because we wanted to stick to your plan. And I think that has good things and drawbacks because you want to have authority as a coach. And I think you definitely had that. But I think it helps as the last 2 years you developed more relationship with us and we got to know you more, I feel like, as a person. But also you gave us more freedom to do our own thing, which I think was very helpful for us.
How dare you, Karis, talk to me about that in my own home? I'm just kidding. No, it's when you're coaching, my intentions have always been the same, but how I express my intentions as a coach was different. And I've always been in a situation where I would reinvent myself every year, but I really didn't know how to really let go in such a way where stop worrying about every little detail and just allow the process to happen as far as the team becoming a team and the team creating their own identity and figuring things out. And every time, and it's been a constant struggle, but because I've tried to do this a lot, not during your 4 years, it just during your last 2 years, going into your junior and senior year, that was the first time I pulled the trigger. I'm like, I'm going to this new way of coaching, which I've always wanted to, but never had the guts to finish. And I just let go. And the only way I was able to do that was realize that I don't care about winning anymore. I had to remove that completely. And when I did that, you guys obviously had the most successful year of winning. What is that noise, IT Ryan? Is it? You guys hear that too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear
I'm
it.
pretty sure that's you.
I know, and I
Come
don't
on,
know what's
Dave.
wrong with it. Anyways, it is interesting to see what happened, and it helps that you guys won more so than we've ever done at Millennium. You guys set crazy records. What were we, like 20, and we took a loss when we were like, I think 12-0, and then we lost to Desert Mountain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Even the next year, though.
yeah.
Yeah.
So your junior year, that's when I knew it worked. When we went to Desert Mountain, not only did we lose, we lost bad. It was like, what did we lose? 3-0?
3 or 4.
It was a solid loss.
It was, mind you, the field was, they shrunk the field. It was like the width of the 18-yard box, which is disgusting. And the lighting was goofy. Everything was goofy about that field and that high school. And I never liked going there. But it's the smallest field I've ever played on. And that always goes and helps the team that likes to beat you up. And that's what happened. But the bus ride home, do you guys remember that night after we lost? The bus ride home from Desert Mountain? Do you remember? See, nothing. See, it wasn't significant to you because nothing really changed as far as our mentality. But the bus ride home, you couldn't tell if it was a big one or anything. There was no difference from beating a team by a lot and losing by a lot. Nothing changed. And then you guys went on another amazing run. You won the Arizona Showcase tournament, beating California team Notre Dame in the finals 4-0, which was their worst loss, I think, in history of their program. And then you guys went on to obviously one region. They went to the state finals where we ended up losing 1-0. And it was an historic year, an unbelievable season. And the only tears that were given was because it was over. We couldn't be with each other anymore. So that was a great year. What else let's talk a little bit about the things I did wrong. How did I communicate to you guys versus, or how did I communicate to you in the first 2 years versus the last 2 years when it went to openly talking to the group or individually?
Well, the first 2 years, you definitely knew if you did something wrong.
Yeah. I think you've been pretty direct. Oh man. You've been pretty direct for all 4 years, but before you tried to communicate to us, like during the game and kind of at times whenever we already had a lot going on in our mind. But I think the last 2 years you did a good job of communicating clearly before the game or during halftime or before we did something at practice so that we had time to process it and then put it into effects during the game. And then at halftime we would talk about it and adjust what we needed to. But I think it was still direct, but in a way where we had more freedom and more time to process it and adjust it how we wanted to.
And then your senior year, I even went further and had you guys organize practices. Can you kind of describe to the audience how we did practice your senior year?
Well,
Like before practice and
before practice, we would have the captains and the coaches meet in like a little meeting room while the rest of the team was getting ready. And we would go over what we wanted for practice, like what our goals were, what we wanted to get done. And then as captains, we would go out and we would basically communicate what we were going to do and we would execute it. And I think that was also really good for us, kind of defining the team by ourselves as well and just taking the team like our own responsibility and turning it into what we wanted.
Yeah, I thought that was a great thing to do is always have the captains kind of come in because you guys are the ones communicating to the players and you got to let us know what you guys wanted, how your fitness was feeling, what you really wanted to work out work on, and we just took whatever you said, even matchups as far as putting, what groups together and whatnot, and then we would implement it the best we can. And that included formation for games, lineups. I mean, everything that the best one is Ariana Lemons. So I believe she's a Division I left back. So Ariana Lemons was a Yuma transfer, scored like 40 goals for her high school in Yuma, but it was lower division. She comes over here to a much higher division, playing 5A, where we were playing 6A schools as well. And you guys are the ones that told me to get her from playing left back to up front. And we have a lot of good forwards already. And I love the fact that she can attack out left back and she can strike the ball so hard. And I was thinking more in terms of her as far as opportunities were playing left back. And you guys came in and said, no, let's put her up front. And then she went on a crazy goal, scoring 16 goals like in a short amount of time. How many goals she put on Desert Mountain? 4?
Something crazy like that.
Yeah, from like legit goals, like they're crazy. And I'm just sitting here as a dumb coach. I'm like, I'm an idiot. I robbed her probably from like another 15 goals, but she became the 5A offensive goal scorer because of the players, not because of the coach. The coach screwed it up, and that's another reason coaches need to avoid being coached. They need to be managers, and that's what I'm trying to become, a better manager. I want to manage the parents, the players. I just want to make sure your buses show up on time, you guys have food, and you have a schedule, and do all the managing and provide a great coaching staff to be able to help you guys. That's what I like doing. One of my most favorite things about the transition was the interviews. So the opportunity to meet with you guys. Describe what that was like, and for the team and for you guys individually about the interviews. Starting with Marin.
I feel like for Karis and I, we kind of got an interview every day with those captains meetings, so it wasn't that big of a deal, at least for me, because we were talking to you all the time. But I feel like for other players, it was another piece of just forming a relationship with the coaches, and I think that helped create a stronger bond, and it really just helped with communication, which I think is so important with building a team and building team chemistry. So I think that the meetings was something that you guys did really well in connecting to all players, because you didn't just do it with your varsity starters or just players that you thought needed it. You did it with everyone. So I think that the players really appreciated that.
Yep, and that's a lot of work. We actually start our interviews tomorrow for our team, which is hard to do. And the interviews, for me, it was always me and Jennifer Keatley that were there to document what's being said. And we really wanted to get to know each player and see if we could help them. And it wasn't just soccer, but we wanted the opportunity to have that conversation about how do you feel about the position? How do you feel about practice? We wanted everyone's feedback so they felt like they were being heard. And I thought that was huge, and that got the team to be more together. Because the last 2 years with you guys was a lot different than 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I mean, the team, we had cliques before where the team was never unified until we gave it to the players. When coaches get involved, especially not to knock all you male coaches coaching females, when you get involved, especially on the male side coaching females, you can't really organize what the team really wants, because I don't think they'll confide into you than they would with their players. Thinking back of my playing career, I hated every coach I've ever had. Every one of them. No offense to my past coaches. I really didn't like them because they told me what to do. And I remember one college game, I'm playing at Phoenix College, and my coach was screaming something to me, and I told him to shut the F up, kind of thing. I didn't like it. Leave me alone, kind of thing. And I had a little more clout there because I was the top goal scorer, and he couldn't really mess with me, and I kind of knew that. So no one likes to be talk to, especially in the heat of battle. Let me process what's going on. And then here I am as a coach doing the same flipping thing for years upon years, ruining these poor kids. Not everybody. I always have impact on some, but as a whole, I've destroyed a lot of players. And not saying I'm a bad human being or anything. I'm just part of the norm. This is normal behavior. It's about the coach and all that. It should be about the players. Anyways, anything else you would like to mention on that topic before we move on to Jack and Jet battles?
I don't think so.
Ryan, do we have any questions from any listeners?
No, we have a bit of advice from John Holt. He says to always be loud.
Oh, yeah.
So John Holt, he played with me on this Cisco Asylum, and he was the hardest tackling player I know. I mean, he got stuck in and ended people. He wore shin guards. He had 4 pairs of shin guards. He wore them on the front and the back because he knew he was going to get kicked too because he was kicking a lot of players. Johnny Holt was an amazing player. But, yeah, I think our team was very loud, but it wasn't because of me. The players,
Yeah, that's true.
led by them. Yeah, seeing that there's no other questions, we're going to move on to the Jack and Jet 1v1 battle.